All right, guys, welcome to episode number 68 of the Conquer Me podcast. I'm super excited to have a returning guest, Jenn Broxterman. You guys, Jenn, you don't know this, but our podcast has been one of the most listened to out
No
of all of
way.
them. Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I figured I had to figure out a way to get you back on here. So I appreciate you being
Yeah.
willing to do this. Guys, for those of you that don't know, Jenn is the owner of Nutrition RX and
Mhm.
also Prosper Nutrition. And she has been instrumental in helping us in our gym get our coaches trained up to provide a high quality nutrition coaching service. And so we're super grateful for that. Also, her and I are tied together in multiple different groups and masterminds and friend groups and all of that stuff. We're all on the same mission, to
Yep.
kind of help people in the fitness space. So, Jenn, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back on the show. I'm pumped to be here.
Absolutely. So, with your background in nutrition, I wanna talk. Most of my audience are fitness people.
Hmm.
They are in the hunt of living a better lifestyle. A lot of them are trying to lose weight. They're trying to maintain their weight loss progress. They're trying to figure out the really, really confusing puzzle of what is nutrition and what does all that mean. And there's so much, diluted information and misinformation out there. So I certainly want to pick your brain on some of those things. But the main topic I want to ask you about and just have an open discussion about today is about medical weight loss.
Hmm.
So, with you being in the space of nutrition coaching, which a lot of people, not fair to say everyone, but a percentage of people coming to you are coming to you for weight loss, right? We
Totally.
we do
Yep.
live in America. It is a slightly a problem here. So
Yep.
I would imagine a lot of people that come are raising their hand and saying, "Hey, I'm trying to lose weight. I've tried everything." Right? I hear that a lot. I've tried everything. I don't really know.
Hmm.
It's not working. There's so much information out there. What do I do? And now we're coming out with these different types of things and or applications for these different medications outside of maybe what they were created for, and it's being used for weight loss, and it flat out works in terms of
Hmm.
getting people's weight down. So
It does.
big question is, what are you seeing in your practice with this? Is there a big influx of this? What are your thoughts about it? How are you navigating through that to support your folks?
I'm so glad we get to dive in on the topic of Ozempic. So, absolutely, in the last few years, it's been on this hockey stick curve
Mm,
where there was no one really using Ozempic or a similar type medication. And now, with a lot of our weight loss clients, it's a factor.
yep.
So, right off the bat, I want to just go into our philosophy, and I have to stick true to what I practice, like practice what you preach. And
Yep.
our words are on our wall, framed in our counseling office. In this space, healing happens. Be
Mm,
curious, be kind, be honest. And that is the framework that we start to explore mindset, environment, habits, outside social influences. And so, as a dietitian, especially, one of the things I always appreciate now, 14 years in, is weight loss is hard.
mm,
And there is so much judgment and stigma and shame and blame placed on someone that happens to live in a bigger body. And
mhm,
like you hinted, you'll often hear, I've tried everything. And what is the number one thing that discourages people or hinders people from losing weight? I would say it's the word discouragement.
mm,
It's trying, it's giving it that best effort over and over and not seeing the results. So, what's positive about Ozempic, and I'm going to give a very nuanced answer on the pros and cons of this new
yeah.
medication, is for the people that are deeply discouraged, where they have tried healthy eating, they have tried Noom, they've tried Weight Watchers, they've tried paleo, they've tried keto, they've tried, whatever's been circulating around that's the fad. And like you said, it's getting them some kind of a result. And that result is the first time that they have that sense of encouragement of, I tried something and I got closer to my goal. And so, as a coach, we want to look at tools, whether we fully agree with the tool or not,
Mhm.
that question of, does this move you in the direction of your goal? Yeah, for a lot of people, it does. And so I would say in the mindset piece, it helps so much with the discouragement component of the equation because discouragement kills progress,
Mm,
discouragement kills motivation. And some people just need that win to actually register on the scale. Because they can have a lean coach go, oh, it's how your clothes fit, it's your energy, it's the fact that you can run around with your kids. And those are all great wins. But for someone who 10 years, 20 years, 30 years has wanted to lose weight and be in a smaller body, they're still chasing that goal. And so seeing that actually register on the scale is a huge igniter and motivator. So that's one of the actual positives I see in my own clients right off the bat. I don't know if you want to weigh in and if you've seen that in your practice.
Yeah, I would love to because I want to be totally transparent on this episode. And I'm going to look
Mm-hmm.
back and have a whole different perspective probably on this. But where I'm at right now is I'm still trying to sort through all of this. Like I had a hard
Yep.
stance against this in the
Yep.
beginning. And I told everybody that I knew, I'm like, do not do this. It's a
Mm-hmm.
mistake. I'm still pretty much there, right?
Okay.
However, I am more open-minded because I do understand. So there's a lot to unpack with this. It's like I explained it to a friend like this the other day. And this is where I'm getting to is the mom that goes, they have teenagers and she goes, "Hey, I know you're going to drink alcohol with your friends. If you're going to do that, come here and do it. At least
Mm,
so I can keep an eye on you guys and make sure that you don't totally destroy your life."
right.
Right? That's kind of how I feel about this whole thing is it's like, okay, in my opinion, as
Mm-hmm.
a coach that's been at this for a long time, who really believes in the power, the foundation of the mindset being everything, and like really
Yep.
feeling like we should put our emphasis there before we put our emphasis anywhere else. But I know that people aren't there yet, and they're not willing to do that, and we're fighting an uphill battle because we're inundated with marketing and celebrities and all the other things that are just saying none of that's important. What's important is that you lose the weight, and here's an easy way to do it.
Mm, yep.
So am I going to win this battle of me saying, no, Jen, like, listen, the best way to do this, the most holistic, safest,
Mm,
scientifically proven way is to focus on like dealing with the trauma, changing your psychology, changing your environment, focusing on recovery, like all these things that nobody even talks about,
yep.
getting your hormones in check, lowering your cortisol, fixing your gut health, like all of that stuff is a worthy opponent compared to taking a shot or a pill or whatever and
Yep.
immediately seeing the result. And now the other piece is like, I'm going, why aren't we educating people that the goal is not weight loss?
Yep. That's
And we
another
are,
piece
and
of it.
I think
Yeah.
we are, but I think again, we're trying to undo so much that's been done through marketing and all the things that like the measurement for success and worthiness in your fitness journey is weight loss.
Hmm.
People still don't even make the connection between fat
Right.
loss and
Right.
weight loss. We still think it's the same thing. And it's like, no, if we lose all our muscle, we're metabolically compromised and all these things. So to just be honest, because there's a lot of people going to listen to this because this is a very
Yeah.
controversial topic. I want to be
Hmm.
real about where I'm at with this, and that is I don't think it's the best way. I would not recommend that my mom do it. However, if you're in a position that you just feel completely hopeless and you're just not mentally ready to or willing to like go down this path of work that's going to be extremely difficult and you need a kickstart, maybe I could see it being productive. Now the
Yep.
question would be though is I don't have enough experience because we're not administering it, we're not around it
Hmm.
other than some clients doing it. What do you think the success rate of this is going to be? And let me define that. I mean, someone starts it, they get some traction, it inspires them to now all of a sudden take action on the things that are really going to give them longevity in their process, and they hold that, then they get off of it and they continue to make progress. Like, what would you guess that success rate would be?
What's interesting is it's probably too early to
Yeah,
know.
I agree.
And so being in my scope of practice, the answer is we don't know because we
Right,
have to run this out scientifically over years of study. We don't know what the thyroid cancer incidence is going to be.
right.
And we know that Ozempic is connected to thyroid cancer in animal models. So those first group of people who are trying this out, there are societal guinea pigs, like any new medication. I want to quickly circle back to something that you said, because I do deeply believe and side with you. Jenn the human, Jay the human. I mean, I'm always going to champion mindset, environment, positive habits, do the trauma work, do the self-healing that has to happen. The nutrition coach, the practitioner in me, has gotten better over the years of recognizing people's best or what they need to. I think of it like a marble. If I give someone a boulder and I say, push as hard as you can, and I want you to get that boulder going. And inside that boulder is whole food eating, it's strength training, it's high quality sleep, it's healthy relationships, it's protecting your boundaries, it's doing the trauma work that you have to do. It's
Sounds
all
like a
those
lot.
things encompassed in that boulder. And they have pushed against it and that boulder didn't move. They have this sense of learned helplessness
Yeah.
of no matter what I try, that boulder isn't going to get anywhere. But that fit professional that's like, come on, I've been rolling my boulder for
Yeah.
years. It's easy. We, I think, forget those experienced coaches, those experienced exercisers, those experienced healthy eaters. We're on our chapter 72.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people are on their chapter 1, 2, 3. I think just like in the education system, it's like being an old school teacher that insists every child must do long division so that their brain muscle is worked. And you're like, hey, see this invention called the calculator right here in my phone?
Hold on, get me
I can
started
get
on
that.
this.
I can get that answer real
Yeah.
quick if I punch it in. And the teacher's like, no, your brain needs to know how to do long division. So I think as helping professionals, we will actually help more people when we recognize you want to get wins, you want to get the ball rolling. And then with encouragement and momentum and motivation, remember I said discouragement is the number one thing that kills progress. Then we can step in and go, this was your kickstart. Now we want to teach you the skills that you need to maintain this, to do this the rest of your life. And so we can talk a little bit about how Ozempic biologically works. And then we can also talk a little bit about how like the whole food, real food approach, that can get real nerdy, but in a fun, playful way with you audience,
Yeah.
if you guys want today. And this is actually how I like to explain Ozempic, how it works, and then what we're going to do with real food to mimic Ozempic. So for those that don't know a whole lot about Ozempic or have maybe heard about it, but they're not fully sure, it basically belongs to a group of diabetes medications called glucagon-like peptide-1 receptor agonists. And essentially, that's a fancy way of saying that it has action on our stomach, our blood flow, and also our insulin production. Because it's trying to help people who have type 2 diabetes slow their spike in sugar into their bloodstream so they don't get crazy high blood sugar that's going to do damage to their eyes, their kidney, the organs of the body. So one of the main ways Ozempic does that is it slows the movement of food from the stomach into the small intestine. Well, what does that mimic? A well-balanced meal that is rich in protein and fiber and satisfying fats that keeps food stuck in our stomach for a while. And that means our blood sugars don't spike up and they release really slowly. So I usually draw this on a piece of paper because I think the visual is so helpful, but I'll do my best with words on a podcast.
Awesome.
If you imagine how our biological system evolved to eat food and calories, humans did not know what calories were, yet we had a way to regulate our weight and our appetite. How did that system first evolve? Well, we use receptors in the level of our stomach to communicate messages to the brain. So first, we have to chew our food. So chewing starts to set off hormones in our stomach that tell us, hey, get ready to produce some peptides that break down our foods. There's nutrition coming. And then in little chunks, we swallow it down. Now, here's what's really interesting about our real food, whole food model to our processed food model. Real food takes about 20 to 25 chews per bite on average. Now, this is really geeky, and I've learned this in like nutrition textbooks.
Oh, yeah.
But it's about 25 chews on average per swallow. Processed foods are designed to be swallowed between 5 to 10 chews because you get a quick flavor explosion, then it's already gone, and that actually creates more craving and desire to eat again. That's why candy and chips and foods like that are so addicting, and we want more and more and more really quickly. So whole foods are already starting to communicate fullness at the level of the mouth just because of how long it takes to get food down into our esophagus and then our stomach. The next set of fullness cues start to take place in our stomach. So on the walls of our stomach, we have these little receptors that are there to stimulate and get sort of signals of food touching the walls of the stomach. Essentially, I label them pressure receptors. So as I eat my kale salad with hard-boiled eggs and nuts on top and a little bit of cheese, and maybe some beans, spread on top of the salad, I have so much chewing I have to do to get that salad down.
Mm.
And then I have so much physical volume from the kale and the beans and the nuts and the eggs and all the different ingredients I put in there that they start bouncing off the stomach walls like a washing machine. And the spin cycle keeps going, wow, there's a lot in here. You need to
Mm.
keep kind of like spinning it and crunching it down until we turn it into a mushy liquid. And that mushy
Mm.
liquid is called chyme, CHYME. And then finally, we have a second set of receptors right at the door of the stomach. And the name of that door is called the caloric sphincter. It's a little ring of tight muscles, a little crude, but think of it like a butthole. It's essentially there
I
to
mean, I was already
regulate.
thinking about that. So
That's
you
kind
met,
of what
yeah,
it
I was
is.
already there. Yep.
So think of it like a security bouncer at a club. It stands at the door to the delicate small intestine and it goes, are you safe to get inside this club? And by safe, it needs to be a liquidy soft texture that won't tear or shred the small intestine. So hard chunks of almonds are not yet safe. They need to be pulverized down into a mush. A tough piece of steak needs to keep spinning in that washing machine for hours. And that little valve, that little caloric sphincter just goes, nope, not yet. Nope, not yet.
Mm.
Nope, not yet. And it continues to give feedback to the brain going, there's still crunchy, tough textures in here. You are not hungry and there is not space to add extra food. So yeah, if my lunch is kale salad with some chicken on top and some hard-boiled eggs and some nuts and a little bit of olive oil for some healthy fats, and I eat an apple as my lunch dessert, that's going to leave me very, very satisfied 3, 4, 5, maybe even
Mm.
6 hours. But if my lunch is a burger and fries and a liquid Coca-Cola through a McDonald's drive-through, think about that from the biology perspective. Our stomach doesn't know calories. So I eat the fries quickly. The ketchup goes down easily. The burger's soft and easy to swallow. Now it's not a super tough texture. So my stomach can grind and pulverize that into that liquid
Mm.
chyme pretty quickly. Then the bouncer, the caloric sphincter, the texture guard goes, well, this seems soft and liquid. In fact, the Coca-Cola is straight liquid. You can go on through. So my blood sugars spike really,
Mm.
really fast. I don't get any sense of fullness from the liquid calories in that sugary drink. And the fries and the burger don't take a whole long to empty out in my small intestine. So then my blood sugars go up, my stomach feels empty, my blood sugars go down quickly because it was a quick spike of fast sugar and it got pulled into the cells. And then mid-afternoon, I'm looking for my next hit of sugar and food to get my blood sugar back up. And I don't feel satisfied. And that could have been 1,000-calorie lunch,
Mhm.
or it could have had a 500-600-calorie salad. My brain does not understand the caloric difference. It only understands how that biology evolved. And then it goes crazy deep in terms of fullness. So now food has left the stomach, it's gone into the small intestine. Our small intestine starts to extract the nutrients it needs, vitamins, minerals, healthy proteins, carbs, fats, everything kind of filters through the liver. But when you eat whole food, you have a whole bunch of waste, basically fiber that our body can't digest. And fiber then goes through the small intestine and goes to the large intestine. And we've heard a lot in the last, few decades around our gut microbiome. Fancy way of saying the bacteria that live inside of us that really play a big role in our overall health. Well, those little bacteria live all inside our large intestine. They are alive. I think of them like little fishies in an aquarium.
Mm.
We got to regularly drop fish food into our aquarium. We don't want our fish to go belly up and start to rot on the surface of the lake because they weren't being fed. What does our gut microbiome feed on? Prebiotics. That's a fancy way of saying food that the probiotic bacteria eat. What are prebiotics? They're mostly fibers found in fruits, veggies, nut and seeds, whole grains, those very fibrous whole foods. So then your little bacteria nibble on the fiber as it goes through. They produce a substance called an SCFA, and that stands for a short chain fatty acid. So these little fats get released in your colon. They're a really important energy cell for your colon cells, so they help protect against colon cancer. But those short chain fats communicate to your brain, we're deeply nourished and fed, because your body is
Mm,
expecting food to go down here to go all the way out the other end. Now let's go back to the McDonald's lunch. If I have burgers and ketchup and fries and a Coca-Cola to drink, very little of that is high fiber to go all the way down to the colon. So then my bacteria are like, where's my lunch? Why didn't
mm,
I get fed down here? So we make less short chain fatty acids, and those seem to play a role in weight management.
mm,
So right down to our bacteria, they're helping lean individuals stay lean, and overweight individuals are struggling more with their weight. So what's so cool, this is why I get such a nerdiness about the science, is when I can help my clients understand how things are supposed to work, then they're like, oh, now it makes more sense why you're teaching me a half plate of veggies, why I also need that protein with that meal, why I need those slow digesting carbs. I'm not anti-carb, my whole meal can't be carb, but I need to give those bacteria some food way down on the other end. And that's why I can not count my calories and stay very lean and stay very satisfied, because I'm working with my biology, not fighting it. So that's the ultimate goal when I'm teaching my clients how to eat and nourish themselves. But the initial stage of what Ozempic is doing is it's mimicking the slowing down at the level of the stomach. So they're getting, I don't want to use the word cheating, but essentially it's like you said, a kickstart,
yep.
a faster, easier way to start to feel what people who have learned the skills of whole food nutrition are getting consistently from their meals and snacks. And it's that first sense of slowing down, not having such big portion, learning what that appetite regulation looks like, feels like. And then as a coach, I can step in and start to educate how they can take the reliance off Ozempic and create this with whole food, if that makes sense, coach to coach.
Man, that makes a lot of sense. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That is like, yeah, you brought it home on that. That was really, really good. And I'm gonna make sure that all my folks listen to this just because like I've never heard the reasoning for eating whole foods described that good. Like I
Yeah.
just want to acknowledge you for you knocked that out of the park. So great
Thank
job.
you.
It sounds like you kind of know what you're talking about. You didn't just
Just
watch a
just a
YouTube
little
video.
bit.
So I guess the hope is, and I want you to continue with this, but a question would be, because we're optimistic and we love people and want everyone to be successful and we want to meet them where they're at, and we understand that not everybody's going to take the path that we're taking, and
Right.
people are still getting started. I had a conversation, in fact, yesterday with a lady who called me, and she was over the moon excited day before yesterday, and she said, "Jay, you're not going to believe this." And I'm like thinking, did someone die? Like, what happened?
Hmm.
She's like, I just had the biggest epiphany. And I'm like, okay, this sounds good. She said, I just realized that if I move regularly, I'll feel better.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, yes. Has no one told you that yet?
Yeah.
It's like, she's like, no, no, no. Like I hear it and I kind of know like exercise, whatever, but I was in pain for years and I didn't move. And now all of a sudden I'm at your gym and I'm working with a trainer and
Hmm.
I'm moving every day. And you're teaching me about the importance of not only just moving in the gym, but moving outside the gym. And I'm getting all these steps every day. And I feel like my whole life is built around activity and it's amazing, but I'm not in pain at all.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is why we say movement is medicine, movement is
Yep.
medicine, movement. And we know this. We
Hmm.
know this to be like the most like obvious truth ever.
Yeah. Like
But
the
people
sky is blue.
Right, but people are just starting to figure this stuff out if they're
Yeah.
just starting to kind of embark down this whole path. So the hope is for us is that we can bridge that gap. We can somehow get them the jump start that they
Hmm.
need, but then educate them in the danger in the slippery slope zone, because
Yep.
also when people do things that work, they tend to want to keep doing those things,
Yep. They get a
right? Hey,
reliance.
I restricted my calories to 600 calories a day and I did a bunch of cardio and that worked for me. And now
Hmm.
I'm still doing that 10 years later, no matter how much I've been educated on the importance of strength training and building muscle and all those things. So just playing devil's advocate, my concern is and I don't mean this to be offensive, but we're
Hmm.
kind of catering to a microwave like fast mentality of like, hey, let's just give you the quick win,
Hmm.
and also expecting them at some point to be able to let go of that and go,
Hmm.
okay, now I'm going to go develop the skills and the mindsets and all the things. So I don't know that it can't be done. I'm not completely sold yet on, like, I don't know that I would bet on that process.
Let me give you a metaphor I use with my own
Yeah,
clients. So
sure.
if I have someone that has been really, really inactive with a prior injury, say they have an ACL tear,
Yep.
I wouldn't be like, I expect you to be in our CrossFit classes doing
Right.
Murph Memorial Day weekend. Like,
Right.
as a fitness coach, obviously the coaches out there are shaking their head being like, that would not be a wise move.
Yeah.
But if I said, hey, what if we got you braced up in a way that keeps your knee really stable? We scaled Murph down to the level that you felt you could do. We shortened the distance, you walked it, we modified. And then as you continue to come to the gym regularly, we strengthen around that injury. You're doing some physiotherapy. We're constantly just upping the challenge that little bit, meeting you at your level. The goal is you take that brace off your knee
Yeah.
and you've strengthened the muscles around it that you can now support yourself. And so with nutrition, I think a lot of coaches forget that these braces and these supports exist, and they're not meant to be you wear a knee brace or you
Right.
walk with crutches forever. They're an assistive device for a short period of time to meet that person where they're at with their ability and skill level and injury level. But with the appropriate physiotherapist or surgeon or coach, the goal is to get them as functionally able as we can get them back to. And so I think nutrition becomes very black or white. It's like you do it the right way
Yeah. And it's as
or
far
every
from black or
other,
white as
right?
anything.
Exactly. So that's how I like to explain it is if right now this brace, this support is
Yeah.
going to give you the encouragement that you're starting to see some progress,
Yep.
and you and your doctor have agreed that that is safe and appropriate, who am I to tell you you shouldn't do that? But I will still continue to champion the iceberg of success and the mindset, the habits, the environment
Yeah.
stuff. But we're going to meet you where you're at and we're going to progressively make it more challenging. And now people have the skill set that they can go do that. And so I guess that would be my message to coaches is I'm not actually like pro or anti Ozempic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's good coaching is what I'm advocating for.
Well, and I'm trying to find a middle ground for me where
Mm-hmm.
ethically and with integrity, like I can give sound advice that I believe in and I feel good about, right? So like
Right.
again, I'm not anti it either necessarily. I'm just very careful because we don't know.
Right.
And I know that everyone else is getting on board with this. And I know that all
Mm-hmm.
the major gym chains are starting to, partner with all these different people and they're going to be administering it and they're going to have nurse practitioners on staff and all these things. I'm very aware of what's happening in the industry. But I
Right.
also know that in 5 years or 10 years, this could be the worst thing that we've ever seen. And it could majorly backlash on us for all of us who did get behind it.
Right.
It could be ugly because like
Mm-hmm.
we're supposed to be the beacon of hope. We're supposed to be the ones in the fitness space that give sound advice, and that's
Yep.
scientifically studied and backed and whatever. So I'm just playing both sides of the fence. I'm going,
Yep.
okay, if I were all about it, what would the pros be and what would the cons be? Well, I would
Yep.
have some integrity issues and maybe we would run into some issues later, but I'd make a lot of money. Right? If I was totally not against it,
Yep.
what would it be like? Well, I could be proud that I'm, preaching my truth and whatever, and I will get smashed
Mm-hmm.
and clients are going to do it anyway. And then
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm so pro not, I don't have the opportunity to support the clients that are doing it. So I'm
Yep.
trying to find my middle. And this is why I wanted to have this conversation with you because I think you have a much more well-rounded, just because of your experience and you coaching a lot of clients in that space, in the nutrition space, which is largely psychology. It's so much
Mm-hmm.
more than counting calories and doing all the things,
Yep.
right? It's a little bit of that and a lot of like, all right, let's get
Your
into
relationship with food.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I think you certainly have some gold of experience there. And so I wanted to talk to you about this because my desire is to find a place where I'm comfortable and I can maybe not necessarily champion the whole idea of it, but if someone makes that decision, I want to meet them where they're at and love them and support them and help
Bingo.
them to hopefully get on the other side of that.
That's how I sit on my side of the line is we don't do medical supported weight loss in our clinic. It's not something we bring to our clients,
Yeah,
but as people find their way to us and they've heard good things about the mindset work, the relationship with food, the habits, skill building, I would never make someone feel ashamed or
sure,
judged
sure.
or not good enough because they made that choice that that's how they felt they needed to proceed. And so we just support them the best of our ability with all those positive things. But I've gotten, I think, better 14 years in, recognizing that what doesn't feel like a boulder to me is
Yeah.
very much
Oh,
a
for
boulder.
sure. Sure, for
And
sure.
I'm just shrinking that down. And then like I talk about the brace analogy, maybe you do have crutches and a knee brace on. And I don't want you walking around with a, crutches and a brace forever. But if right now that got you off the couch and you're actually moving, then you know what? Like
Yeah.
I say this in my nutrition start, you probably remember this quote, forward is forward, better is better.
Yeah.
And
We
every
still say
person's,
that around the gym, by the way.
I
Like, I
love
hear my
that.
coaches say that all the
Yeah,
time. I'm like,
forward is forward, better
yeah.
is better. So that's, that is someone's forward. That is someone's
Yeah.
better until they're capable of even better and more forward. And then we just continue to help them that way.
So you'll relate to this. I have this extreme need to take responsibility for people's results to a
Mm,
fault,
yeah.
right? Like
It
to a
can be to a
fault.
fault. It can
It
be to a
is to a
fault.
fault for me. I promise you it is,
Yes.
because there's many times where I care way more and I'm way more invested in this person's progress and like
Mm-hmm.
to an unhealthy place. And so I'm already thinking 10 steps down the line. I'm like, well, what if this person uses this medication and gets the result that they're after, it temporarily or whatever, and then I can't turn them. And they go, well, you know what? Why would I go spend time and money and energy exercising when I can just do this? And like, that's my concern, because no
Mm-hmm.
matter how good of a coach I am, there is a chance, human nature, to take the path of least resistance. And then
Right.
I'm going to feel responsible for that. And so now what I'm thinking is like, okay, the way that we can get behind this is, I mean, we have several people in our gym who are quietly doing this, and I
Mm-hmm.
know about it, and we've had
Yeah.
conversations about it. And I'm like, hey, like, you can keep it quiet if you want. You can tell people if you want. It's up to you. It's your journey. We're going to do our best to support you where you are. But I haven't really known what that looked like, because technically they don't fit in our normal semi-private training. They're eating a handful of calories a day and they have no energy. And I'm like,
Right.
we almost have to build something specifically for them. Like, if I'm really going to support them through this, I
Mm-hmm.
can't have them come in and do a super killer workout. We've got to prioritize resistance training and muscle,
Right.
because that's the number one thing, is they're going to lose all their muscle. They don't realize the importance of that and how much of an
Yep.
asset that is.
Yep.
So now my thinking is less, I'm moving to a place where I'm less about whether I'm for it or not,
Mm-hmm.
ethically or whatever, and more to a place of, I know it's going to happen. How do I be the best resource possible inside of my facility and outside of my facility to help people use it as a tool, but then also bridge the gap between longevity and lifestyle change and all that type of stuff? And it's not a straight line. It's a very unclear path at this point.
Yeah. And I love that you just asked that question, because I think that is the more important question around Ozempic. It's not, am I for it? Am I against it?
Yeah.
It's, I chose to be in a helping profession in the
Yeah.
fitness and nutrition industry. How do I best help? What's happening with the trends? What's happening with the clients that are walking through my doors? I think that's a way more worthy question to mull about in your head
Yeah.
than, am I for or am I against Ozempic? Because personally, you have full agency over your body. You have every right with your own body to make the choices you want to
Sure.
make. But when you're a helping professional and you work in healthcare and fitness, this isn't your body. This
Right.
is someone else's body
That's
that
right.
they've trusted you to give evidence-based guided advice. So the best thing is to learn as much about it as you can, and then learn how to best support them with their mindset, with their nutrition, with their fitness,
Right.
which will look different than someone who's not going through extreme medical weight loss.
Yeah. No doubt about
Yeah.
it.
And now you're raising your skills as a fitness professional because you didn't dig your heels in and go, I'm anti calculators, as an
Right.
example. You're like, people are using calculators. How do I still help them be good at
Right.
math and work their
Right.
brain? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's so good. So what does that look like for you guys? I mean, are people coming in and just openly discussing, hey, this is my path, this is what I'm doing, and then you're getting behind it? Or what is that? How are you seeing that happen?
So I'm seeing it kind of 50-50. There is those that come in very open and they contacted us saying, my doctor has communicated with me that we're going to start a plan around Ozempic. The nice thing I'm hearing though with these doctor sort of supported plans is they're like, but my doctor did say they wanted me to work with a nutrition
Mm,
professional as I'm going through that. And I heard really good things about you guys. Can you support me? And so because we haven't poo-pooed them or been judgmental, they know that we're going to receive them as they are. meet them with that brace and crutch on, and then slowly teach them the skills they need to hopefully get off of it.
Yeah.
The other ones I would say are resisting Ozempic, and that they're like, I need one last try. My doctors talked to me about it. It made me really mad that my doctor suggested that. So ethically, I don't want to do Ozempic.
Interesting.
And I
Okay.
want to come at this from a lifestyle perspective. So I'm actually seeing the opposite, which is people
Ah,
digging their heels in, similar to your perspective
yeah.
of like, I don't want that label, that I took the air quote easy way,
Right.
in not putting words that Ozempic is the easy way, but in
Right. And that
their,
sounds very aggressive.
yeah,
And I don't mean it that way. And
right,
just to hear you say it is like, I don't feel like, oh, you
right,
cheated or you're not capable
totally,
or worthy. It's not that at all. It's just like, I don't want you to miss the opportunity to develop the skills that I know will
right,
last forever.
right.
That's all. But
And I think for them, that's some of the messaging they have heard from
yeah,
the fitness profession. And so it's interesting that those
got
clients
it.
are like, their identity is like, I don't want to be labeled
Yeah,
cheating, easy, lazy.
got
Like,
it.
I've got to figure this out. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised that I'm seeing pushback from our population, who are like, I know you guys are about this, the sustainable air quote right way. This is my last hurrah before my doctor's like, I really want you to try this.
Got it. Well, that's
So
interesting. Yeah.
that's a motivator too.
I think it's in our favor and would be beneficial for us to really start seeking out these practitioners who are administering this and prescribing this
Mhm.
stuff to like maybe in some way have a collaboration or whatever to be able to say, hey, like we know this is hot, we know that it's happening a lot. How can we partner with you to make sure that your patients are well taken care of and they're not
Right.
just doing this, but we're promoting a healthy lifestyle and we're because ultimately a good practitioner, regardless of which side of the fence or wherever you're at, that's what you're going to want, right? It's like, I'm not trying to throw medicine or whatever at someone. I'm trying to solve a problem.
Yep.
And if
You're
we
trying to build a
can,
healthy community is what you're doing.
yeah, if we can have
Yeah.
multiple hands on that and effort from other people in the community, I think that'd be great. And then there's just the whole aspect of like maybe we can make a difference because again, you got a split kind of ratio of practitioners who are like, hey, I'm all about like whatever is going to make me money and it's fast and it's easy. I'm going to do it. And there's incentives for this stuff and
Mhm.
it's easy. Anybody qualifies, you just do it. Then there's the other side of the fence and then everywhere in between where like they're like, hey, no, we're going to do this because we think it's right now it's the thing and it's helpful and people are wanting it. And so, but we also want to have some follow up. And I think for those, it would be great for us to have some form of collaboration. And then there's some good kind of leads for us and people that would be more open to a conversation now that their doctor
Mhm.
said, to your point, you know, hey, I think you should really consider exercising with this too. So that's kind of where my focus is like, can we build a program around it to help these folks, meet them where they're at, make sure that they're not like minimize the muscle loss, do the
Mhm.
things, but then also find out where it's coming from, like which doctors are heavy on it, and
Yep.
see if we can develop some relationships there to
And
support as well.
And I mean, here's the incredible opportunity for fitness professionals and Ozempic. The clients, the patients, whatever you want to label them, will have way more interaction with their fitness and
With
nutrition
both,
coach
yeah,
than their doctor, right?
yeah,
They're
that's
going to
true.
be seeing you on a weekly,
That's true.
multi-time a week basis. So you get to have so much more influence on the big picture skills,
Yeah,
the
that's true.
mindset, the environment design, the healthy habits. So I think that's where the win really can come from for the fitness industry. Even if you're not pro Ozempic, you can connect with those doctors and say, hey, we understand this is happening. We just want to support, and we're going to be those boots on the ground, helping them day in and day out through this weight loss journey. So they come out with so much more than just a lower number on the scale.
Yeah, and we're not fighting. I like that because
Right.
for the longest time it's been, and even more so recently, and even after COVID and all the things, like it's been kind of the health, the wellness practitioners fighting with the doc, like with the you know the traditional doctors, and it's
Yep.
messy, man, because it's
Yep.
just it's unpleasant. I would love the opportunity to say, hey, like we're going to both play an instrumental role of helping this person live a better quality of life. You're going to do it from a medical standpoint and pharmaceutical standpoint. We're going to do it
Mm-hmm.
from more of a holistic standpoint, but we're going to work together on it. Now you have credibility, more
Mm-hmm.
credibility with your patient because of us, and we have
Totally.
more credibility with your patient because of you.
Absolutely.
And I just would
And
love to see that happen.
And that's where the real wins are coming, is it's a
Yeah.
client-centered, patient-centered model first, and you're ultimately still doing that healthy approach, which is you're helping them learn the skills they need to keep this going for a really long time. I think the people that are stuck in that combative role, they're not getting anywhere, they're
No, not at all.
frustrated, and they're not actually engaging the change that they want to see in their
No
community.
one
So
wins.
no one wins.
Cool. So if I come in and I say, hey, Jen, I'm considering starting Ozempic, or I've already started, how are you going to coach me differently than if I'm not?
Great question. So I'm going to make the assumption that you've started it. Normally, my first question, if you're like, hey, I'm considering it, is completely non-judgmentally. And I might even point to those 3 words: be curious, be kind, be honest.
Yep.
I might go, hey, Jay, like, be honest with me. What stirred some curiosity up for you around Ozempic? Why are you feeling pulled into this? Not judging either way.
Yeah.
Would love to just have a conversation before you make a decision, and some of the changes biologically that are going to happen to your body, and then give you a chance to explore. And I'd be really listening for what those pain points were, right? Like, I've tried everything,
Yeah.
nothing's working, or I'm feeling like this is going too slowly. It might be a little bit about setting expectations, right? You didn't gain 80 pounds in 2 months.
Mm.
You're not going to lose 80 pounds in 2 months. So sometimes it's just a little bit of a course correction around expectations and how the process of better eating habits and lifestyle and weight loss works. Sometimes it really is from a place of fear. I have many clients that are like, my mom died in her late 40s from a diabetes related heart attack or
Yeah.
stroke. And I'm coming up to my 46th birthday, and that's scaring the crap out of me. And
Yeah.
so in discussions with my doctor, I want to be here for my kids. And so I'm listening for what those fears and motivators are. Because a lot of people assume it's just vanity. And oftentimes it is a lot
Yeah.
deeper
Yeah.
than that. And so then, say you are clients of mine, you have started Ozempic. I would want to get a better idea of, are you on a calorie restricted plan as part of
Mhm.
that? Or is it just the weekly injection and you're told to kind of work with me to give the nutrition guidance? So I'm listening for what outside nutrition influences are giving you messaging around consumption, macros, calories, portion sizes. Do I have to run with what was been given by your doctor because they have the ultimate authority? Or is it they're trusting me to be the nutrition authority? Hopefully so. And I can give a little bit more of an individual client specific answer. And then instead of just saying, eat 600 calories a day, you'll lose weight very quickly. Oh, there goes all your muscle with it. So I would be trying to maintain that muscle mass, prioritizing protein, vegetables, slow digesting carbs, healthy fats, all the good nutrition stuff, we know. And one thing I always, because again, their energy is often a little bit down, they're nauseated, they've got some GI stuff. So, talking about how we can have some quick and easy healthy wins. So, for the days that you're feeling a bit nauseated and you don't want to cook, can we batch cook some healthy options when you do have energy? So then you've got options in your freezer
Mhm.
that are going to support the plan. It's like anticipating the hurdles, anticipating the roadblocks in this Ozempic journey. And, like, you're probably going to have some GI upset. It's quite common. You'll get very constipated or have diarrhea. So, do we have some parasympathetic box breathing drills in your back pocket for when you're struggling with constipation as a medication side effect? Do we need to get you a squatty potty so you're in a better biological, like physiological position when you're going to the bathroom? Do you need to introduce some gentle exercise, like a walk after dinner, to stimulate, a bowel movement? So I'm just anticipating many of the common side effects of Ozempic. And then that way they've got some strategies in their back pocket to manage them as the symptoms come up, the side effects come up.
So I love the piece about managing expectations. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this is such a delicate dance because I'm listening to you talk through this and you're a master at it. But I'm just telling you, it's not going to always be easy because
Right.
it's like, what do you say to the lady who comes in and they go, "Hey Jen, yeah, I'm starting Ozempic. Okay, awesome. Well, and you ask all your qualifying questions and you're
Yep.
peeling back the onion." And I say, "Well, I just, I've been working out for like 3 months. I joined the gym. I'm just not really seeing any results, and so I'm just ready to kind of get some results." And in your mind, you're like, or even less than that. Maybe they've been working out for a month, right? We hear
Yep.
that now. We have a 1 month
Yep.
trial, and people are like, "Well, I didn't lose 15 pounds, so I don't know.
Right.
It's not worth it." I'm like,
Yep.
"You're 56. You've been overweight your entire life.
Yep.
1 month is not going to totally radically change your life. But in their mind, that's the expectation. And they're like, oh,
Yep.
okay. And many times when we say, I've tried everything, that's what they mean. They're like,
Right.
oh, I tried the gym thing. That doesn't work for me. So let's just move
Totally.
on to the next thing. So now you're in a position where it's like, I mean, the reality, we need to tell people like, hey, this, I know you don't know this, but that's your expectations of what's going to happen doing it naturally or whatever, or way off. But they've already kind of made up their mind to do that. Do you take the
Hmm.
time to educate them and try to move them in one way or the other at
I
that point?
do, but I flip the script. So
Okay.
this, you know me, I always have a good metaphor
Oh,
up my
I know.
sleeve.
So many, and I love them.
So if I'm managing, someone has a mismanaged expectation and it's around food, weight loss, or exercise, I don't want to actually speak to them in that language
Yep.
because I'm hitting a brick
Yep.
wall. They don't understand
I
fitness or
agree.
exercise or food. So I flip it to something they probably do have better expectations around. Let me give my example. Money. You've started at a job. You've been unemployed for a while. You've worked 4 weeks and you're upset you're not a millionaire.
Mm,
Doesn't work like that.
yep.
So if the goal is to be debt free and retire with millions in the bank, here's what we're going to need. We're going to need consistently good inputs. You're going to have to go to your job. You can't call in sick all the time. You're going to have to show up to work, do a good job. You might learn some skills where you can negotiate a promotion or you can apply for a better paying job. You need to learn how to save and invest your money. You need to learn how to live within your means. Now, if you go in and check your bank balance every day, that's like jumping on the scale. What do I weigh? What do I weigh?
Yep.
Checking your bank balance doesn't accomplish anything. It's a lagging measure of your inputs, how much you're earning and saving and investing to your output. Like, how much are you
Mm,
spending?
it's good.
So, what we're going to do is we have to work the plan. We need to earn more than we spend, meaning we need to make better food and exercise and sleep decisions then the not so good ones. So you're in a net positive cycle with your health. And then we need the second ingredient, like we need with money. We need time,
Mm,
reps, consistency. Can you wrap your head around how this will work if we do this the right way? And then people are like, yeah, I get it. Right. So, like, would you agree you're not a millionaire after working for 1 month at a new job after being unemployed? Do you understand why money doesn't work like that? And do
yeah.
you also understand that, yes, you could be making more, but if you're spending to match that new pay increase, you're still no better ahead. So you can go to the gym and be really active, but if you're not eating enough of the right nutrient dense foods, you're not creating the right amount of a deficit, you're not getting enough high quality sleep and stress management,
Still
yeah,
broke.
you're doing a really good thing coming to the gym,
Mhm.
but you're still broke.
Yeah.
So I flipped the switch because if you try to fight with them on how the biology of fat loss or exercise
Mhm.
works, they still don't understand it.
Mm-mm.
So give them a metaphor and a different topic and they'll make the connection.
Yeah, I love that. I love your metaphors. So good.
Thank you.
All right, so let's back up a little bit and let's go back to the pros and cons of this, okay?
Okay.
Because this could be a long drawn out thing, but I want to get clear and concise on it could be very beneficial for someone who
Hmm.
feels like they've tried everything, they're in a major slump, they don't have the energy, or maybe they're really, really overweight and they don't even have the physical capability really to get up and move. Like
Right.
getting steps in seems impossible to them because they can
Right.
barely get moving and from the couch to the kitchen or whatever the thing is, right?
Right.
So that it maybe if they're just completely mentally defeated, it could be a good thing to give them some quick wins and that whole
Hmm.
thing. So from a psychology standpoint, I understand that. From a physical standpoint, I understand that. The cons, thinking in terms of the side effects, the medical things that we know about, what are some of those that you're familiar with? I know there's some gut health stuff. I know there's a
Yeah.
there's a laundry list of stuff that may or may not affect people, but what are some of those things that you're seeing?
So I always say right off the bat, you should be very much expecting something to happen to your GI tract that doesn't feel pleasant. The
Yeah.
big ones, the most common, are going to be constipation, diarrhea, nausea. For some people, they actually do vomit or just general abdominal pain. Kind of feels like there's a bad party happening in your GI tract. Everything's slow and bound up, and it just doesn't
Is that
feel
why
feel
it's just
good.
frozen, basically? It's just
It
not
slows it
moving.
down.
And then, yeah.
It communicates
Yeah.
slow the movement of food to create that sense of fullness. Where we have higher risk, but maybe not as prevalent, is stuff that could go really wrong really quickly. So we know that pancreatitis, which is a
Hmm.
type of inflammation of the pancreas, has been connected to Ozempic use. People that are just vomiting or constantly nauseated, and they just feel very ill all the time. That is definitely a problem. And then the scary one is thyroid cancer. So as I mentioned, the research I've read in the animal models is they have seen a connection between animals taking Ozempic and developing thyroid cancer. It's been approved for use in human. Interesting, Ozempic hasn't been cleared for weight loss. It's being used as an off-label use right now. But if you have any family history of cancer, specifically thyroid cancer, I would be a lot more cautious with using Ozempic if you know that. And then gallbladder is another organ connected to the digestion of food. It's a little sac that sits under our liver and releases this goopy substance called bile to help us digest fat. But again, with everything being slowed down in our abdominal cavity, we can have gallbladder disease. So we can get stones, gallstones that start to build up because that bile isn't being pushed out properly. You could end up with gallbladder surgery. And then the other kind of interesting one, I've read about it when I like do my pharmacological research, I haven't had a client yet, is blindness that's related to diabetic retinopathy, or a fancy way of saying blindness caused by high blood sugar and connected to diabetes. It seems to spur this on a little bit more. So
Okay.
that's, I mean, going blind is a pretty serious side effect. So something
I
you
would
have to
say so.
consider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lose weight, go blind. I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
toss up.
But the big one on the boxed label is that risk of thyroid cancer.
Yeah.
That is one of the more serious considerations at this point in time, that we just don't have enough reps and people in years to know exactly what percent that's going to happen to.
Mm. So what are the plans that you're seeing coming from doctors? I mean, I know like with other medical weight loss and other pharmaceutical drugs like phentermine and some of the others, it's like, hey, you take the pill or you take the shot or you do
Yeah.
whatever and you eat a super low calorie diet and 600 calories or less and you don't work out and all these types of things. Are we
Yeah.
seeing that also with Ozempic?
A little bit, thankfully. I think maybe the community or the connections I've made with my local practitioners, I'm thankfully not seeing such a low caloric
Okay,
diet.
good.
So the way it's being communicated up here is this is going to slow down your stomach. This is going to slow down digestion. It's going to give you that kickstart to support blood sugars coming down, weight management. Most of my local doctors are going, you need to be medically supervised, but I'm not the one to supervise you. It's actually a registered dietitian we want you to go see. And I happen to be one. So we're very much like a trusted clinic. Not that I'm advertising that I am an Ozempic clinic, because I'm
Sure,
not.
sure.
And so thankfully we can keep them active and keeping their protein intake high and their calories at an appropriately high level. And that's where we use personalized testing. So we have like a bod pod machine,
Yeah.
super similar to an in-body scanner that many gyms have. And we'll actually show them like, this is your current muscle. This is your bare bone basal metabolic rate. I don't want you on 600 calories a day, because objectively, I can show you, you won't have enough energy to feed this muscle. And as you're losing weight, we don't care so much about the weight number. We care about the composition number. So we're going to be a little more intelligent how we're tracking your markers. And we're going to watch that your muscle's being maintained, if not increasing. We got to have you eating enough to protect that muscle. And then what we'll do is we'll retest you regularly so we can see that the fat amount is going down. And so be less worried about what you weigh overall or your BMI. And instead, we're going to be more intelligent about this and look at what's changing on the inside for you. And so I find that my clients really like that, because I'm already teaching them the long-term skills of how to view their weight, which isn't about weight anymore. And then they can understand why they need the right kinds of food to support that engine on the inside.
Okay, so then how do you suggest an amount of protein or calories or any of that with someone being on Ozempic versus not? Because that's a whole different ball game. You've got a different digestive system. You like the whole formulas and everything needs to be broken. It needs to be changed, right? At that point.
Yes and no. So if you think about how humans work digestively, you can still eat the same foods, it just moves more slowly.
Yeah.
So I teach a lot about like chewing your food well. We're still going to work on the mindset skills, the relationship with food skills, the building supportive environments. In a weird way, what I just remind them is that you're just going to get feedback you're not used to to stop eating sooner, to
Okay.
slow down. I get those signals all the time based on eating mostly whole food. You're probably not used to it. So food's going to sit really heavy. Food's going to move really slowly. But this whole thing we're working on is to teach you better overall nutrition habits. So I'm still going to teach you how to build a healthy plate, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I'm still going to teach you how to do some cooking. So you've got some stuff in your fridge and freezer. I'm still going to encourage you to chop up your veggies and make a veggie bucket and chew your vegetables and
Right.
eat them nice and slowly. So I do less calorie counting with this
Sure, sure, sure,
population
sure. Yep.
because we're just starting with basic skills
Yeah.
and not using food as their friend. And a lot of the times, this is kind of where people get really vulnerable with me. They're almost afraid in a way because they're like, food's been with me through everything.
Yeah.
I've emotionally ate through college. I emotionally ate through my divorce. I emotionally ate when I miscarried 3 times over the
Yep.
last 4 years. Like food has been my friend at my lowest points. And so recognizing they're going to need a new set of coping skills for those hard, traumatic, stressful moments in their life. So we don't need to talk about calories and macros.
Right.
They need the basics of healthy eating, but we're actually
Most
doing more
people
around,
do.
yeah, the relationship they've had with food and stress.
No, that's so good. I mean, we try to stay away from that too. Everybody that's been around the fitness space or they've done some other things, they all want to get into calories and macros and all of that. And I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
understand if you're trying to be a bodybuilder and you're trying to like inch down a 0.5% of body fat and you need to track down to the calorie, whatever.
Right,
But for our folks, it's like, no, we just need to change the relationship and not view food as bad and like
right.
learn how to manage it and eat better quality foods and all those things. But there is something to be said though about like if I'm used to consuming a certain amount of food and then all of a sudden my digestive basically system all but stops. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
moves very, very slowly.
Right.
Am I able to ingest enough calories, even of good whole foods, to maintain a decent metabolic rate? Or am I just going to see a drop in that? You know what I mean? Like, am I going to digest at a rate fast enough that I can consume enough calories to be, even with prioritizing protein and doing all the right
Yep.
things, to still be able to be healthy metabolically?
I'd say the population I see more of a concern with that is truly the post-bariatric surgery clients, where they've
Yeah,
had
yeah,
such a
for sure.
physical restriction to the physical size of their stomach.
Yeah.
Those ones often do struggle to be able to eat enough of the real right whole foods to meet their needs. With Ozempic, you still have the normal volume of your stomach. It's just it sits there longer.
Yeah.
So I would argue that probably not to the level of danger that you're maybe hinting at, but
Okay.
it is an adjustment. It does feel different, and they're not often used to that sensation. But that's also how Ozempic, the magic of Ozempic works is you're just like, oh, I feel satisfied and full for a lot longer. I guess I'm not hungry and I don't need to go eat yet.
Right. Which is good on one side because they're
Mhm.
learning the hunger cues and like, okay, I'm not hungry, I shouldn't eat.
Right,
But then on the other side, if we're trying to get them to understand that if they don't eat enough, they're going to lose muscle.
right.
I'm just playing devil's advocate and trying to think of both sides of the
Yeah,
of psychology on this. Is like, okay, Jen has told me about how important muscle is, and I need to
yep,
maintain this. It's the most precious asset, and it's going to allow me to be metabolically healthy and lose fat long term easier without as much work and
yep,
all the things. I am totally sold out to the idea of I need to keep my muscle, and only the way I can do that is to eat more,
right.
and then we're not hungry.
So I think I'm going to challenge you a little bit, Jay. I
Yeah,
think you're
yeah, yeah,
bringing that like ripped male fit guy perspective of like, I always must get enough protein. I must feed the
yeah,
muscle at
yeah,
all
yeah,
costs.
yeah.
If I were to flip the script of like what they're thinking in that body, in that headspace, in that challenging time, I want you to think of it like a piggy bank, and we're just
Yep,
trying to make little deposits,
yep,
nickels, dimes, quarters, dollar bills, $5 bills. And I'm not so much worried about like, did we get the perfect amount of protein today
sure.
to meet this strong aesthetic body? I'm teaching them how all these small wins stack up. Like, wow, you came to the gym 2 times this week and you participated in our beginner 30-minute
Yep,
circuit, like huge win.
huge. Yep.
You drank water over soda today with your lunch, huge win. You had some vegetables where normally you don't normally have vegetables in your day.
Yeah.
Huge win. You didn't eat the whole pizza for dinner. Like you had just a couple slices or 4 slices, and that was enough. So I think of it as the piggy bank of deposit, 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 deposit. And I am only celebrating and putting their focus on all the healthy deposits and skills that they're building.
Yeah.
Yes, I could get anxious. Is their protein optimized? Are their calories optimized? Does that anxiety serve them as their coach? Probably not.
Right.
And also, their level of activity is a lot different than a 5 time a week CrossFitter's level of activity, whose protein needs are different. So
Yeah.
I always remind my clients where focus goes, energy flows. So if I focus on the anxiety part of the equation of it not being good enough, that's just stealing my energy. If I focus on every great positive deposit they're making for their body, their health, their self-care, they can feel that from me. They can feel that in
Yeah.
themselves. And then that boulder rolls faster and faster, gets lighter and lighter, and the reliance on the assistive devices can go down. So maybe it's a little naive to think of it like that, but in all honesty, I don't get too stressed out about it, because I just know if we're building those positive skills and the boulders rolling, we can add more protein, and I can do more protein education,
Yeah.
and they're ready for it, and they're training a lot more as well.
Yeah. And so I think there's like, I'm not all happy clappy and just to be super like, oh, everything's
Yeah.
just all about the wins and all that.
Yeah.
And I understand. I know you're not either, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to have some hard conversations, but
Totally.
I am totally in agreement with you about let's focus on the wins. Let's
Hmm.
do that. So from my perspective, the reason I ask you that is I'm just talking openly, not agreeing or disagreeing with your style of coaching or mine, but
Yep.
just talking openly about the way that people think. And I know from working with enough clients, and you do too, that you're going to have some of the population who are going to
Hmm.
be totally fine with like, hey, now I know that I eat and I'm full. And like, that's what we want. We want them to go, hey, I just had a slice of pizza and I'm not hungry anymore. Normally I would eat four. Hey, that's amazing.
Yep.
Let's celebrate
Yeah.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a win. But you are going to have that person out there who's like, but Jen told me or Jay told me that protein is important. Not that I care to optimize it, but
Right.
that they will obsess over that to the point where it's like, I've got to get, I have a very specific person in mind that I've
Hmm.
coached who I just said, hey, listen, protein's very important. Here's kind of here's the reasons. Here's what we're trying to do. Here's roughly where we want to be. This is a more advanced nutrition coaching client.
Yep.
They've done all the right things. We've continued to work and break through plateaus, and it's been a beautiful thing. Well, she got so fixated at one point on the importance of protein. And then she heard me talk about it. And then she follows this other person who reinforced that. And then she heard
Yep.
something else who reinforced that. So then her mind went to, I just have to get as much protein as possible.
Yep. If
And that's
some is
why,
good, more is better.
yeah, exactly. And that's
Yeah.
why I bring that up because now I've had to like totally stop and say, hey, you have to be very careful with this. Like, I don't want to be negative here, but we've got to have a
Yep.
conversation. You're not moving in the right direction doing this. We've got to course correct. You can't, and we've gotten in a much better place, but I could just see that happening. So I think it's just all in the education. You're going to have some people go some way, some people go another
Yep.
way. How do we get the majority of the people moving in the right direction, right? With the
Yep.
way that we coach them.
And you just described a brilliant coaching moment. Like coach to coach, what I'm going to call out is you halted early signs of disordered eating in its tracks.
Yeah.
So when I look for warning signs of disordered eating, and just for the coaches listening to the podcast, if you coach nutrition, somewhere between 40 to 70% of the population is
Mm,
going to get a little squirrely and disordered with their nutrition at some point
yeah.
because they're paying attention to it. So disordered eating is very easy to reverse when it's in the early stages.
Mm,
It's much harder to reverse when it's a full-blown eating disorder. So to me, symptoms of disordered eating are being too precise, too
yes.
measured. You're thinking about it. Like I think about food when I'm hungry. I eat my meal. I enjoy my meal as I'm eating it. And then when I'm satisfied, I don't think about food till the next time my stomach growls.
Yep.
And a great test, I use this with my clients if I suspect disordered eating, is I think about going to the bathroom. So hear me out on this metaphor.
Yep.
You probably think about going to the bathroom when you feel pressure in your bladder communicating it's time to go relieve yourself. If it's appropriate, you do it in that moment. If we're like in the middle of a podcast, you're like, yeah, I can wait, the 20 minutes to finish
Yep.
up. And then you wait for the appropriate time and you take care of it. Now, if you were obsessive and you're like, Jen, I must pause things right now. I absolutely, to this minute, must pee every 4 hours on the 4 hours. I'd be like,
Yeah.
that's weird. Can you hold it? Also, if you try to like stretch yourself and see how long you could go, or I only allow 3 bathroom breaks per day and I am bad if I exceed 3,
Mm,
those are made up rules. No
yeah.
one said you're allowed to pee a certain number of times per day. If we're natural and we listen and respect our body, we listen to the cues and we accept that there's ebbs and flow to what's natural and right for us day to day. We don't talk to our friends about how much we pee. We don't get a little beaker and like pee into a beaker and then we like look at how much urine came out and then we
Right.
punch it into an online calculator. And then I have a computer telling me if I'm allowed more or less water
Right.
based on
Right.
my needs. Our bodies know how much food to eat. We know when to stop, when to satisfy. Ultra processed food has completely
Yes.
disrupted the
That's where
mechanism,
I wanted you to go with that.
and
Yeah.
that's where it breaks
Yeah.
down. But real natural whole food eating, we have built in systems that it can be sort of a little bit of a loosey goosey, put yourself in a positive environment and your body just sort of knows what to do. Urine is the very best example I can give because most people don't have a disordered relationship with going to
Mm,
the bathroom. And so when food stops mimicking what it's like to go and drink water and go pee very naturally throughout the day, then we want to work on, is it food quality? Is it food quantity? Is it our weird food rules? Is it food messaging? And
yes.
that's where I help people find their way back to like just natural intuitive eating.
That's
Yeah.
so good. Yeah. I
But
mean,
ultra processed food has broken that down. It does not
yes.
work in an ultra processed food environment, to be
So that's
clear.
the whole key. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny because we should have all of these mechanisms built in. Like
We
as
do.
we're created, we do. But
Yeah.
now we've gotten so
We've
far away from a
totally.
natural whole food diet that we have to rely on a watch or some kind of wearable device to tell us when we should eat or drink or move or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
That's mind blowing. That's a whole
I
nother
know.
podcast. That's good. All right. Well, I hate to do this because this is so good. I have like really, really enjoyed this, and you have educated the snot out of me with so many different things. And I just appreciate the opportunity to push back and you being open for
Mhm.
that and you pushing back on me because I think
Yeah.
this is how we build each other. And again, I'm walking away with a different perspective in a lot of areas because of your conversation today. So I definitely appreciate that. My listeners are going to love this, by the way. You're a huge gift, Jenn. Seriously, your light
Oh,
shines really bright. And
thank
I just
you.
admire someone who's so passionate about the industry and the people and the things that you do. And I'm really honored to call you a friend. So thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, we will
Can
get
I leave a
some,
little gift for your listeners?
please, please, please.
Okay. So, as you've probably heard through our podcast today, I've played a few little metaphors and mind games and
Yes.
storytelling tricks with Jay. And my favorite gift I love to leave the public is I have a totally free nutrition masterclass called Liftoff. If you go to prospernutritioncoaching.com/liftoff, you can go in. There's like this little apple test game, there's a dog bark game. It's just a really fun way to look at nutrition, not so rigidly, and it's completely free for the public. It's completely free for coaches. And you'll leave with a couple of nutrition coaching resources you can use for yourself or use with your own clients. So if you like making nutrition light and fun and gamified, Liftoff is definitely the resource and gift I'd love to leave all of you guys with.
And if you guys don't go get it, you're crazy because her stuff is high quality. And again, we paid her a lot of money to educate our coaches, and we would have paid her double based on what we got. So we are super thankful for that also. So thanks for the gift.
You're
Thanks for the gift
welcome.
of you and your time. And I look forward to doing this again soon.
That sounds great. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
Jen. We'll see you.